Good evening, everybody. This is Joseki bringing you another audio commentary. This audio is copyrighted 2008 WCReplays.com, so please do not go stealing it. Today I'm going to be bringing you a Human vs. Night Elf on Terenes Stand. This is going to be patch 1.22, which is the slew of minor balance changes that have occurred in a couple new maps. Unfortunately, not bringing you anything on a new map today. I'm going to work on a little audio commentary thing with a little introduction of all the maps and human creeping patterns I've figured out and all that good stuff. But for right now, we're going to be looking at a game between myself and a player on ladder. This is one I was at 3-0, but the player was very competent as the ladder has been reset. The good players are just starting off as 1-0s, 2-0s as well. So I've been playing against some pretty good people. As of this audio, I'm only 4-0, which is absolutely no accomplishment whatsoever. I've just been starting to ladder up, and I'm ranked 300. Isn't that pro after 4 games? So, Human vs. Night Elf on Terenes Stand. I did a little experiment, and essentially, what ended up happening was, in the game I played, my 1-0 game was versus a Night Elf on Echo Isles. And I was like, okay, well, you know, he's 1-0, guy could be incredibly good, he could be really shitty, and, you know, I'm just going to go for it. So I just did creep the top green on Echo Isle, tower push right away. And, you know, it worked, but it didn't really work because it should have. It worked because he sucked. And granted, Night Elf players probably should build Ancient of Wars when you're tower rushing them. Yeah, I know, right? So, honestly, the replay, that replay is absolutely useless because it was versus a bad player. But even when it was versus a bad player, I had 7 peasants repairing a tower and 2 volley of archer shots when it was healing. Killed it. Just straight up killed it. Even when I had 6 peasants auto repairing. So it's like, yeah, basically that's done with. So, you know, tower rushing like that just doesn't work. And it's unfortunate, but that's the way it's got to be, because enough people complained. And, you know, they got it right if they were trying to stop humans from tower rushing, and it's probably going to be much harder versus Orc. Tower pushing still seems completely fine, it's just the rushing part that seems ridiculously hard. If I didn't mention, 2-minute mark. So this game, I'm bringing back an old school strategy. I figure, you know, I don't really like fast expanding, unless it's versus undead. I guess that's why Night Elf's always been a hard matchup for me, because I refuse to fast expand. And the times I did fast expand, I had a lot of success with it, but it just doesn't really feel right playing against Night Elf and doing that. And it's just going to be especially harder with the tower repair rates, a lot more Dark Ranger hunt pushes, and a lot more lame stuff like that. So I haven't really had... My desire to do that sort of strategy has been diminished even further. But I'm going to be coming back to a strategy known as the rifle push. The rifle push doesn't really work that great anymore. I think that it's probably going to make a comeback just because all the people who tower rush are still going to want to find a relatively quick way to win. Difference is rifle push is pretty micro-intensive and timing-intensive, so it actually takes a lot more skill than tower rushing. Regardless, this is going to be a little strategy on how to do it. I'm going to do a 4-footman tech to rifle Naga, and you're going to see me rifle push this Night Elf player. So, I'm paused at the 2-minute mark. We're going to be unpausing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unpause. So here I go, bringing up my 3 peasants and my AM to creep out this top orange camp. Main thing to keep in mind when you're versus Night Elf on Terenes Stand is they're going to have 2 choices. They're going to be going Demon Hunter or Warden if you scout the altar build, which I did. And if they're going Tavern, they have a lot more choices. You're mostly going to see a DR or Panda, but still, very important to scout on this map, especially because Tavern heroes, you'll often find you'll have a very difficult time dealing with them if you don't know they're coming, and they're still very difficult to deal with even when you're prepared, but when you're unprepared it's just literally impossible, at least from my experience. So scouting is very crucial, much more so than it is most of the time, and I highly recommend it. Oftentimes you'll see pros build farms in their opponent's base. I haven't caught on to doing that just because it's more work for less. Too much work for too little gain, I guess. Even though, if I was playing like a super serious match and I really wanted to win, probably I'd do it. But it was just a ladder match, and I pretty much know what he's up to at this point anyway. He had no AOW in his main, no Hunter's Hall or anything started when I came. His Demon Hunter had his he had an altar building a hero, a standard moonwall. There's nothing out of the ordinary. So I felt like I just gained adequate information at that point, and I was pretty much right. So this Night Elf player is choosing not to harass me. I always vote harassment as Night Elf because it's really important to know what the human's up to. He really didn't gather a great idea of what my base looked like. He may have ran his wisp by my main. If he didn't, I could be tower rushing him right now. Though I do think that he would have a lower expectation of someone to tower rush him, especially after the new patch. But there's going to be, for all the Night Elves, there's going to be a lot of people who are just going to keep doing it because it used to work, so, I don't know, maybe it still works, you know. Or there's going to be a lot of people who think they can still make it work, but they'll be trying it with different timings and different amounts of militia and all this stuff. So, I mean, the tower rush is certainly not dead. I think versus good players, it just doesn't work. They just build AOWs and focus your towers, and it's like they die much easier than before. Just think of all the times when you barely got that tower up on a tower rush. It wouldn't have happened. You just would have lost instead. So I'm doing a standard creep to level 3 push build. As you can see, my Archmage is not quite level 3 because I killed a creep with a lightning shield because I'm a pro like that. So I have to run in here and kill a freaking wisp, or I don't get level 3, which is going to be very annoying. This Night Elf seems pretty reasonable in skill, like right from this, just because he switches out wisps in his mind, which is something that lazy Night Elf players typically don't do. I go a little too far on his base, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm only going to end up losing one footman. I noticed that he's just on a 4 archer attack. His Demon Hunter's low on HP, which means he's going to be using up a lot of moon juice. So at this point, I kind of decided that I do want to go through with a rifle push based on his base build. The towers are fair enough. We'll end up in a good place if I tower through the top, which is what I end up doing. And by this point, I feel like I should have a reasonable sized army. Now he's sort of running up here. It's sort of silly to run up here if you suspect that the text might be similar, which is exactly why I would never run like this in this case. So here's my Naga, and he has archers. He